Hello, Admiral Thrawn here, doing another demo sort of slash kind of semi-preview video for Age of Petty Kings. Here I'll continue doing map work. I'll be showing you first how to expand upon an existing landmass. So if you want to basically change, I'm going to be changing the arbor to make it significantly larger. And then later, either in this video or the next one, I'm going to show you how to add new settlements to the campaign map. So first off though, let's do with the expanding a landmass and whatnot. Now this is a rather difficult thing that will require changing all of these image files here like this. Now, if you're going to change an image file, you're going to have to start with map heights. Map heights is what governs the coastlines. So if you were to add an extra island or landmass to map heights, it will appear in the game, it just won't have any of the texturing or whatnot. So basically you always have to start here. Though that being said, you can start elsewhere as well if you want to, but basically, if you want it to appear and actually matter, it has to be in map heights. And you know what, in hindsight, I think I'm actually going to start off in map climates instead. Just because with map heights, the terrain changes textures, and so it can sometimes be harder to change the color of the terrain and whatnot. But anyways though, so basically, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make the arbor larger, and I'm going to be sort of using this map here as a sort of a base, just sort of like as a reference. New image there, that's better. So yeah, I want it to look something sort of along these lines. So to start with, let's erase that. That seemed pointless. And so yeah. Right now, the arbor is relatively tiny, and the reason I expanded it is not because it would be larger lore-wise, but rather because I feel that with islands, you generally want them to be bigger than they actually are, just because otherwise they can be kind of small and boring. I mean, this is a heavily populated island and all, and there's hopefully going to be some fighting on it, so it seems like you want to have it be interesting for the fighting. It's okay to have tiny islands as well, but you generally want them to, like, any island where you actually want people to move on, I'd say you want it to be bigger. But yeah, so another thing that I'm going to do as well is I'm going to be adding some new, unique, original houses to the island. See, as I mentioned, I think earlier, one of the perks of donating to the mod, I think the limit is if you donate $40 or more to the mod, you get to create your own custom house, which I will then put in a custom castle somewhere on the campaign map. Now, the primary reason I've done this is actually because there's very little lore surrounding a lot of the regions of Westeros regarding what minor houses live there, and one of those regions is actually the Arbor. See, we know that House Redwine rules the Arbor, but we don't know who their bannermen are, and so you may say that they don't have any bannermen, but if they have the largest navy in Westeros, I'm going to guess they have at least some bannermen who are answering to them. And if so, we don't know who they are, so we have to fill in the gaps ourselves, and so that's what I'm doing with these custom houses. And so I'll be creating 2 new houses specifically to add to the island, and 1 new region, because the island currently has 2 regions in all. So, yeah, let's... This is a little bit too... It should be a little bit more square, I think. Let's expand that out a bit. It's maybe a little bit big, but we can always change it if we need to. That's my cell phone. And... yeah. There. And then let's add that little mini island up here. Okay, this should be good. Maybe, yeah, this should be pretty good. Let's expand you just a little bit more down this way. Yeah, this weekend I'm going to be doing a bit of a modding marathon. I plan on getting in a significant number of hours and hopefully finishing pretty much all of the map work and all. I may add some more custom settlements later on depending on how many are left to add and whatnot. But I hopefully will finish the map work this weekend and can then move on to focus almost entirely on the rosters and scripting and all that sort of stuff. I still need to work on getting the custom tiles at the wall, which is going to be very difficult. I'm going to look into how Third Age Total War was able to do the Ramrez Ekor, that big wall around Minas Tirith, and basically do something similar to that, I think. Because whatever they did there, it's sort of the same theory for the wall as well. But until then, yeah, so what I've done here is I've created the new island and whatnot. Now this does not actually affect anything. This is just the climate of it, so that'll affect how the ground is textured. But what I do now is I take a box and draw a box around the island. And here, let's start here. What I want to do is I want to get enough landmass here that I can use it as a point of reference. So basically I can see that there is there's 1 pixel over here, and there's 2 pixels here, and then it goes straight down like that. And so I need to position this in such a way that it's correct. That way I can line up all of these map files with the same sort of array of pixels. So here, then zoom in, and control paste, and move it. So I know that there it's the 2 over and the 1 over, so yeah, you see, based on this I can then line it up perfectly so that it's in the correct location. So it's like, you know, the same place. Otherwise it's going to get messed up and you're going to have a bad time. So with that done, we then have to color it. If this is not colored black, you're going to have a bad time. So there's that. Color, color, color. So that's going to be pretty flat, but we'll see. And then, okay, I don't think that I added any coastline, so I'm not too worried about the settlements not working, but we'll have to wait and see about that. It's also very dangerous to change the coastlines and whatnot when there's settlements in the area, because that could cause crashes. But let's see if this works, and then if it doesn't, which it probably won't, then we can start removing settlements and ports to try and make it work. So yeah, so that's done. Let's see here. Not needed. Should have to eventually go through all of these little things to make sure that you correctly update all of them. So yeah, this is another important one here. So control paste. Yeah, I made it like 2 or 3 times as big, but I think that's a good thing. It could use a bit of an expansion. There, perfectly lined up. And water. Gonna have to retexture this water to make it look better and stuff, but for now this should work as a placeholder. And then just let's make it boring grass for now. We can add the actual texturing later once I can get the actual coastlines working. There. Map heights I've already edited. Map regions. This is one that I'm going to hold off on editing for now, just because what it is it doesn't actually affect any of the coastlines or any of how the map appears apart from the settlements and what the borders of the settlements are. So theoretically, if you wanted to, you could basically draw a big splotch of settlements right in the middle of the ocean. It would be fine, just as long as you didn't put a castle there. So I'm going to not change this at all for now. I may have to go in and change the locations of these 2 castles because they may no longer be valid, and especially the port. The port might cause a crash. So if it does crash, I'm going to have to go in and get rid of the port, and then the castles too if necessary. But for now, I'm going to leave this as it is. Not necessary to change. You only need to really change the files that actually have stuff in them already. And then water surface. This is one I haven't yet figured out how to actually change well to make it so that when you change the water surface, it'll like not it won't just be sort of flat or whatnot. But for now, it should be just fine to have the blend and generic water surface and blend and whatnot. But eventually I'm going to have to go along and get the sort of the texturing along the coastline here. I'm just not sure how to do it yet. And this is my first time doing this sort of mapping, so we'll see how it turns out. I think it will turn out okay. There. So those have all been edited now, and I think I will actually remove that port because it's gonna cause a crash. So to remove a port from map regions, what you do is you have to, the ports are the white squares there. So you basically go over the port like that and delete it. I'm going to go more into depth on how this works later. But you also have to remember, you have to delete it in here as well. So, Limes port. Alright, yeah, so the arbor, this is the region where it currently is. And so you have to delete the port here as well, or else it'll cause a crash. You can't have a port in a city that has no port on the campaign map. So that seems to be good. And so let's start her up. There's a very good chance that this will crash, but hopefully it will not. If it does crash, we'll have to start moving around some settlements. But until then, single player, Westeros campaign, House of Red Wine, and it is loading. If it loads like this, it's almost certainly not going to crash. He said before it crashed, but yeah. So basically, if it gets to this point, you're almost certainly good. Sometimes there's weird things that will make it crash midway through there, but that's very rare. I've only encountered that a couple times. So yeah, this is the new arbor. Gonna have to smooth the coastlines a bit. Gonna have to do some more stuff with that. But for now, this should be just fine. You got Rhymes Port, you got Red Wine Hold, so we'll probably move south a little bit. I think the port should probably go... you got Rhymes Port, you go diagonal 1, you can't. You go 1 over, 2 over, 1 up. This looks good for the port. Alright, so... Alright, so I'm going to have to work on the map regions now. So now I will show you how to add a new region. I'll leave the arbor as the boring grass for now and then texture it later. I already showed you how to do that earlier, so I'll just do that on my own time. And so, yeah. So then the settlement that I'm going to add is going to be up here. It's going to be Vinetown. It'll be right up around here on this point. So, alright, sweet. Let's delete that. So now time to edit the map regions. Now this is the part that I am not quite sure about. There is probably a better way of doing this, but we'll see how it goes. So the way that I will basically change the way that a region is on the campaign map is I do Control Paste like that, and then scale it down in half. So change the height to 20, like that, and then move it like this. This is not a very good way of doing things, but it works out okay. So we'll just have to wait and see. And let's make a new layer here. One thing that's very useful for editing these files is to make multiple layers. That way you can easily see what changes you've been making and whatnot. So here, we put this onto a new layer that's positioned above the old layer. Position this guy here, which I believe is correct. And that way, if we want to, we can still see where the old settlements are, so we don't have to worry about checking the backup files or whatnot. Oh, by the way, I think I mentioned this, but always back your stuff up, seriously. I gotta say that so many times because, seriously, I've lost so much work just by not backing stuff up. So, yeah. So we're on this layer here. We're gonna sample some of that water. This is a really useful tool here. It's the color picker. Photoshop has it too, I believe. In fact, really any halfway decent image editing software should have it. This doesn't seem to be working right now. What? Oh, it's because I'm not selecting the right layer. I'm an idiot. So, alright. Now, here we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, first off, turn the coastlines blue, like that. Then I'm going to make this briefly disappear, sample this, and do that. So again, this does not affect any of the landmass itself, like the coastlines or whatnot. What it does affect is what the borders look like. So if you want to have one province be really, really big, this is what you edit. And most importantly, it affects the location of ports and castles. White is a port, black is a castle. So let's put down the two castles themselves. I'm going to move the actual red wine hold this away a little bit. It's because I think it should go a little bit south if we're going to have Rhymesport. And if the island's this big, we don't need it to be that far north. And then Rhymesport, we're going to keep in the same place right where it is. So, yeah. One thing I will advise is this. Editing with multiple layers can be a pain in the ass in terms of keeping track of which one is you're currently on. So, the XY Rhymesport, you can see XY down in this little corner here. It's really useful. XY Rhymesport is 12,341. So, editing this one, 12,341. So it's right here. That is correct. Sweet. So then, from that, we can then start to add the actual stuff to the island and all that, the borders and whatnot. We're going to start by just doing the borders, and then and then we're going to add the new settlement later on. Just because adding a new settlement while doing other changes that are this big, like that could potentially cause crashes, is really bad, because if you do cause a crash, you really want to know what the problem is. We don't want that. It's also a good idea, if you're going to be making coastlines with things and whatnot with borders, it's okay to cheat a little bit and go outwards. These coastlines that you see in the game are not exact at all. And so, for example, this here is probably part coastline, part not. But I'm going to color it anyways, because it means the part that is coastline actually does get properly textured. And then sample U, and fill you in. I'm not going to add the port yet, because if there is a crash, I'll know it's because of the settlement location. It's not because of the port. And so there. I'm going to add this island. I'm going to color you guys in. So yeah, another thing to watch for as well is that when you're editing the regions file like this, the coastlines are not going to be exact. Like, for example, these two things that are just filled in here, and I'm also going to fill these in here, those are probably not an actual pixel of stuff you can walk across. It's probably just going to be some little islands just off the coast or whatnot. So don't trust coastal spaces to be correct. You sometimes put settlements on them, sometimes you can't, and it'll cause a crash. So if you are getting a crash from putting a new settlement on the coast, try moving it one space inland, see if it still crashes. If it does, maybe move a couple more spaces inland, because that's the most common problem that I've had and seen with that sort of thing. Like, it's always the coastlines that are causing the problems. So yeah, this should be good. I believe this will work. I deleted the map.rwm file, and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. This looks reasonable, and let's see if it crashes. Or actually, it is going to crash, never mind, I forgot to do... I forgot to merge this guy down. Merging down, once you've done the editing, it's really useful to merge stuff down on top of the files, because if you have multiple layers, it's going to cause a crash. And let's just make sure that I got everything. Another very useful tool is this. You can use the magic wand. Magic wand selects anything of one color. Using the magic wand and taking the threshold down to 0 means it will only select that exact color. Now, these files are really unforgiving about exact colors, and so yeah, it would have caused a crash, because here, basically, this means that the correct C color, which is the one that I currently have selected and all, does not exist in these 4 spaces here, which look like they're ocean, but they're actually probably like one sort of color decrement off of actually being the correct color, and that's enough for a crash right there. So it's really useful to check the coastlines and whatnot, and even the new spaces you add, to make sure they are the correct color with this sort of tool. The magic wand, threshold to 0. If it's threshold at like at 12 or 15, they get selected and all, they're fine. But if it's 0, you'll know for certain if it's okay. And this is not okay. Let's just make sure that these ones here are both all correct. Good. So in other words, we need to do some stuff. Let's just make them part of the island and all. It's not that bad. There. And alright, so there we go. Yeah, that would have been a crash right there, and I would have been all panicky, like, what the hell is going wrong? So yeah, really useful tool to check whether or not you're making minor mistakes, because this game is unforgiving with those. Minor mistakes will actually kill your whole game, and it'll be terrible, and you'll cry, because I know I've cried many times. Well, yeah, actually I did once, but yeah. So be careful about that. That's all I have to say. And let's see if this works. Fingers crossed. It appears to be working. Yeah, it's looking good. And yeah, it looks good. Sweet. So the borders are all put in nicely here. I have the little islands off the coast of the arbor. This is maybe a little bit big in hindsight, but no, this is good. This is a good size for the arbor and all. I mean, they are one of the most powerful houses in the entire reach and all that, and have the largest navy in Westeros, so they sort of have to have a pretty big island to support that. One annoying thing is George R. R. Martin does a lot of times he won't really specify a lot of things, but yeah, this looks good. So now one thing I will warn you is this: it can be very tempting to just go ahead and make a bunch of changes if you're pretty sure your changes are going to be okay. Like, for example, I am 99.99% certain that putting a port right here is going to work just fine. Basically, it's one over, and then one up, so the port would be right over here with the fleet currently inside of it. I'm almost certain that would be perfectly fine. I'm almost certain that I could easily add a settlement up here. But you still want to be careful, be conservative, and test them out one by one individually, because if there's a crash, which there oftentimes will be, you need to know. And I know I keep saying there's going to be a crash, and I don't think we've seen one yet, but when you get one, it can be held to try and figure out where the problem is, because these files are really hard to find out where the problem is. But yeah, let's see. So yeah. As for this weekend, I'm going to be doing a bit of a modding marathon, as I said before, adding lots and lots of custom settlements and whatnot. There is, I'll say this, bad news is there is a limit to the number of medieval to Total War settlements that are allowed. I currently have about 40 left, which should be fine, but we'll see. Alright, so the port's been added correctly, that's good. And let's, while we're at it, let's add back in the Merchant's Wharf and Shipwright, because, you know, don't want to forget about that. And they're going to be just north of the port, which is the perfect location for them. Good. This guy, I'm gonna have to move him around later, but I can do that at a later time. And then for the final settlements on the arbor, I'm thinking it would be right around here-ish. This seems like a good location. So now on to the part that many of you have probably been waiting for, how to add a new settlement to the campaign map. So a couple steps. And you sort of have to do all these steps at once, or else it'll cause crashes. So first off, you gotta pick a new color. Now, the new colors, it doesn't really matter what color it is, as long as it's not used anywhere else here. So there's, I believe, over like, 6 million different colors out there for you to use. So you're not gonna pick if you randomly just pick a color, you're not gonna get one up here. If you do cause crash and you don't know what the problem is, it's worth doing a search to try and find if you actually did repeat a color. But generally speaking, you're never going to have a repeat color if you just choose randomly, so yeah. I'm going to go with this sort of grayish thing right here now, I guess. I mean, why not? I oftentimes will try and make the color of the region be the same as that of the house, but it's not really necessary, and nope, don't want to do that. Put you down to 0. Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, it's not necessary to make the color be consistent, but I did, like, for example, the arbor, I made it purple because, you know, House of Red Wine is purple and stuff. So, yeah. That can be nice. It's not required or anything. And there. Let's put you right here. See if that is a valid spot. Okay, so I've added the new house. But that's not enough. What you need to do next is there's 3 files you need to edit. First off, there's the Desker Regions file. That can be found in the map's base where I'm editing all these terrain files. So what you do is you go to the bottom, or the top, or whatever you want. You copy and paste the previous file, the previous entry and all. So you got the province name, the name of the castle, then the nation that founded it. Speaking of which, that should be Hungary, and the nation that founded it, Byzantium, the type of rebels that will appear in the region, and the region that it's actually in, which in this case is the Reach. And I'm not sure what this is for, but I do it because, you know, magic and stuff. And these are there's the agricultural level of the settlement, which I'm going to put this at a, I can make you a 3. Yeah, the arbor is pretty cultivated. This one is the magic 1 number. Behold the magic 1, for it doth see all your sins. It looks into your soul and stuff. I have no idea what it does. And then finally there's the religions and all. There's the you can actually have more than 100% in terms of religion. You can have Catholic 100, Orthodox 90, Islam 80. But you don't want to do that because that can be weird and annoying for the players. So this is going to be all Andal. This has been converted for a long time. So yeah, yada yada. Now, when you do all these changes, you're going to forget this. I forget it all the time. You got to change the color. This here is the color of the settlement you just created, and it's the RGB value. Now, the way that colors work, just to go all sort of nerdy computer science on you for a second, all colors are made up of 3 number values: a red value, a green value, and a blue value. And together, mixed together, they create a unique sort of code, quote unquote, for the color. And that's how you make all the colors. There's like 6 million of them so far. But so the way you can access that is this. You can sample the color, so you have the correct color. Double-click on it. I believe this works the same in Photoshop as well, but I know it works in GIMP. You then see this here. It says red, green, and blue. You then can copy these values and paste them in, or just go 152, 141. Yeah, the total number of different colors, because each of these has a maximum of 250 and a minimum of 0. So, sorry, maximum of 255. So the maximum number of colors is 256 cubed. So a lot. Like, I believe, like, over 6 million. I think it might be over 32 million. I should know this. I'm a computer scientist, but whatever. So, yeah, and then finally, you got to change the province name. And this is going to be Vinetown Province, and the name is Vinetown. Now, the next thing is you got to edit the Imperial Campaign regions and settlement names, the most unwieldy title for any file in Medieval Total War. So, basically, what this does is it takes the code for the region and turns it into an actual name. This way you can have, like, say, apostrophe S, because you can't have an apostrophe inside of these actual things. You can't have spaces. Here you can. So basically, you got to remember, you got to create one of these entries for it. So this is Vinetown. So it's going to be the city of Vinetown in the province of Vinetown Province. The city is just going to be called Vinetown, so there's really no point of having this, but, you know, the game can look it up. Here is the province name. The province name you get when you hover over it on the minimap or when you right-click on the campaign map. Generally people will just sort of say Vinetown space province. I personally dislike that. I think it's kind of boring. That's why I try and make sort of cooler sounding names, like the Storm Peaks, the Red March, the Shipbreaker Bay, the Rain Cliffs, whatever, you know? I mean, it's not a big deal, but it helps sort of draw people into the experience and all. So here I'm going to call this the Red Wine Strait, I guess. That should be good for now. So yeah, so you got this, and finally you got last of all you got to add it to the campaign map and all. So I'm gonna copy and paste this guy because these are going to be very similar. They're both going to be towns. This is going to be the province is Vinetown Province. Population is going to be less than Rhymesport, which is in the Arbor Province there. Let's make it 28, but it's going to be the same size. It's going to have the same stuff. No port buildings yet because we haven't added a port. Let's put the house building as red wine for now, but we're going to have to change that soon. And yeah, so it's now on the campaign in the Desker Strat. And these three together should mean that everything will work just fine. Deleted, good. So let's give this a try, see if it works. Fingers crossed. And yes, it looks to be working. Sweet. Okay, so yeah, let's go to load, and we should have a brand new shiny castle on the campaign map, or well, town, large town. And behold, My Majesty, we do in fact have a new region. That's looks like a good location. Probably going to put the port like up here. I might move it one north. One trick for finding out the distances between the stuff is that if you take your general and move him like the minimum space you can move him, that shows you 1 pixel. So that one move there is 1 pixel here in this. So I'm going to move them, probably move Vinetown 1 pixel north and then put the port 1 pixel north of that. Ports are weird. You need to put them onto flat edges. Otherwise, it'll cause problems. So, yeah. So this looks like a nice flat edge for the port. So, yeah, let's do that right now. Yeah, this is pretty much wrapping up. I've sort of shown you what I need to show you. Just going to throw in a port. 2 north. And move you 1 north. The port will be right next to the castle, which I like. I like having the port be right next to the town and all. It makes it feel more, you know, realistic. I never liked the whole thing about how Medieval 2 ports will be like separate things that are way far away. I always felt that ports should be integral parts of their, you know, communities or whatnot, if you know what I mean. So, there, yada yada yada. This should be good. And you see here the red wine straight. This is another thing. Let's actually make this red wine straight and this the arbor. It seems like that would be better. Say there, and then there. Because yeah, this is more of the straight area, and this is more of the arbory area, so it should be good. And then that's the southern part of the arbor. So now obviously I'm going to have to go in there and edit the map heights and map like the terrain types and all to make this interesting and whatnot and actually look good. But yeah, let's just make sure that the port works. And let's give a functioning port to here. Shipwright and Merchant's Wharf. So I'm going to be putting in 2 custom houses onto the arbor and all from people who donated to the mod, so thank you guys, you're awesome and stuff. And this should make the red wine roster more interesting because at the moment in the current game that's released, it's basically their shields are just red wine shields, which is kind of boring. So yeah, hopefully this will make things more interesting there. And yeah, looks good, sweet. So alright. And this is just a brief preview video on how to expand terrain areas and how to add new settlements. Obviously I'm going to be using the skills I showed you in the last one to make this actually look halfway decent. But yeah, that should be it for today though. Admiral Thrawn signing off.